Добрый день.
Hi, I'm Alexandra Svatikova. I'm in charge of application security at Odnoklassniki. And I'm going to tell you about three minor vulnerabilities in Flash applications that led to critical vulnerabilities and that eventually made it possible for perps to steal Odnoklassniki accounts. Many people say Flash is dead. In fact, for the last several years, browsers have been trying to say goodbye to Flash. But Flash applications are still very prevalent. Most major internet resources are using them, including Odnoklassniki. And Odnoklassniki is a sort of Russian MySpace, or a second largest social network in the country. Now, Flash is very difficult to review. The number of audit tools for Flash is actually limited, so bugs in Flash are very prevalent. However, Flash applications are run in a sandbox. Flash applications are isolated to the domains from which they were downloaded. You can also call security low domains. And then the domain can actually limit Flash vulnerability by using cross-domain security. So domain separation is the important kind of fundamental in security here. So the way we work with Flash is as follows. We have the main domain ok.ru, and this is where the users log in, and this is where the session cookies are issued. And Flash data is stored at CDN, which is a standalone domain. And that might make you think we are relatively secure, because Flash data is stored separately from user cookies, shown in the slide. Is an excerpt from one of our Flash applications. Actually, this problem was reported in bug bounty. Do you know what the problem is with this code? Any ideas? Well, the problem is actually right in the first line. Well, it takes a parameter straight from the URL request and doesn't check it, which essentially means that you can actually change the input language, so to speak, and easily download parameters from a different domain. Well, it's not that bad at this stage, but please note that this function, this command, will be run in a foreign, in an alien domain. Any other problem you see within this code? Well, there is one more issue here. For some reason, it will download this Flash application into its security domain. Well, like I said, applications can get access not only to the domain from which they were downloaded, but also they can invoke system methods. Now, if this application goes in security domain of some other app, it means it gets all the privileges. This essentially means that alien code can easily talk to our CDN and get data from it. Well, this is already bad, because in CDN we have user data, for example. We have user pics. It's not critical yet, because our primary domain so far has not been exposed. But we use CDN in order to store all the Flash data, and therefore in the main domain we have this file. Do you see a problem here? Second line? Absolutely. Our CDN can do cross-domain requests to ok.ru and actually read the returns, which means that an alien code here has direct access to Odnoklassniki, it can actually request data on behalf of the current user. Well, this means nearly unlimited access to user data. It essentially means you can read all the cookies, you can get all the data, despite the fact that we actually use all the proper HTML flags and not a single WAF will help you identify it. Even security settings set up at full level in your browser will not save you from that. There was another issue we discovered following a real attack. Was as follows. Actually, we support the videos in Odnoklassniki, and we usually use our inbuilt player. However, we enable some of our trusted partners. I'm referring to about 15 companies, mostly big TV channels and big content distributors, have the right to actually embed their own Flash applications. Well, the way these Flash applications are run is such that they do not get access to our content. But look at this slide. We see here the process of Flash download from one of the main Russian TV channels. Well, the domain obviously has been obfuscated, changed here. What could go wrong here, do you think? No, not really. This is what went terribly wrong. So the guys tried to check whether the config file was being downloaded from the right side, but they did it in an ass backwards manner. And that way, we would show actually some sort of video that came from totally unknown website representing itself to be a video from a particular TV channel. Well, it cannot really read our data. If we patch up all the Flash vulnerabilities, well, you as a user will not be at risk. However, we are showing it within Odnoklassniki interface. And that was used in order to mount a phishing attack. So they simply camouflaged their interface so it would look like ours, and several dozen thousand users actually clicked this button, which means that this phishing attack was quite successful. Third problem, it started as a classical XSS. We found Flash in our CDN. Well, I think you know how to mount XSS in Flash. It's very similar to the classical methodology. So from parameters or some area that a attacker controls, you take an element of the source code and then you just feed it to the browser. So we found a Flash with XSS. And since the Flash was in CDN, and it didn't seem to present any particular threat to Odnoklassniki, so we were in no hurry. But then we started an audit and we discovered an interesting correlation here. Can you spot the problem here? Well, the problem is that we found an alias for our subdomain that would be looking at the same server as our CDN, which means you can easily do the following. Well, this means that an erroneous DNS setting would significantly expand the capabilities of the attacker. And that way, an XSS in CDN domain would essentially become an XSS in Odnoklassniki as a whole. So the key takeaway from this story is that an even minor vulnerability or a collection of minor vulnerabilities can easily result in a critical vulnerability. Remember, security in depth and check all the levels of your security system and never always observe the best practices. Let's put it like this. Any questions, guys? Well, they say that Google is gonna ban Flash by the end of the year. From what I know, Google has done research and is going to ban Flash only for the websites that are not really using it to a large extent. So for those websites that use it heavily, it will be different. Actually, Flash has been by default switched off for Firefox 45, I think, and nobody's complaining. Thank you very much for your